You need to make sure you never falter when the game throws quests at you, so you're always pre-planned for them. I bet you have been in situations like this before. You're starting a quest, you see, I see there is 3 enemies in 2 waves, because you played the quest with the site in front of you, because you want to know what teams you should build, because you're not blindly playing the game. You see, 3 enemies in 2 waves or whatever. You're like, I need a looper for that. A buster or arch looper, whatever you need. And you put a team like this, as you can see here, party 9. And then you go to the next quest and you see, oh, I need to have a boss killer, because I see there are 2 bosses in every wave, or I see there is a boss in wave 1 and a boss in wave 2 and a boss in wave 3. And you set up another team, then you're like, yes, of course I should use bond CEs, so I filter on the bond CEs. I go through them, I attach them to them. I say, I need to do this. Then you're like, oh shit, I've exceeded the cost of my party. So then I replace Enkidu with a 4-star character, let's say. And you're like, alright, this is fine. And then you go to another quest, you're like, but they are lancers. And then you go to another quest and you see like, oh, I can loop here too. But Archer is not good in this quest, because the enemies are lancers. So you need to add a saber, I add Muramasa, and you're alright. But then you think to yourself like, maybe I can still use other support craft essence instead of having her empty like this without a craft essence. So go through your list, you go for a 1-star character, let's say him, and then you try to add the craft essence, but you say, damn, I've exceeded the cost, you're puzzling, and then you give up, you're like, alright, I don't care anymore, let's start the quest. Doing this every time for every quest, having no real organization, really takes a lot of time, and you can do it way easier, and I will show you how you can do that. So like I said, this method only works when you play quests by looking at the quest on a site to see what the enemy team is made out of, so you can choose the correct team for it. But if you play blindly the game, then this won't apply to you. But I don't recommend it, because it will take a lot of time, you will get a lot of headaches. I don't recommend to do that. Sure, if you're afraid to get spoiled, I get that, but just seeing the enemy without having context of why the enemy is there, I'd still just use a site to see the enemy. How I have my team set up to prepare myself for the quests this game throws at me is by having set 7 teams. My favorite team I use daily is this team right here. I call it the Rush team, because as you can see, I have 2 Berserkers set up, and everyone has support CEs. The reason why I have 2 Berserkers, of course, because they can easily kill the enemies, they have class advantages. I use it for my daily bone farming. This team only works for enemies with a maximum of 10k HP, because if they have more than that, it might get inconsistent, because if you don't get lucky with your buster cards or whatever, you might not always kill them, and it will take a longer time. And you might be like, why do you have her and Ozzy on your team? Well, because if we go to our interlude, we can see that I need Altria at bond level 3 to unlock her interlude. That's why I have her already set. And that's also the case for Ozzy, as you can see. I need him at bond 5. So making this team, I can just select it and do my daily farming without puzzling every time. And of course, the reason why this team is called the Rush team is to rush the waves. You just want to use all your command cards and kill everything in one go. Go to the next one, because everyone has less than 10k HP. It should be easy. And don't forget to use Mystic Codes. You still need to level up. So don't use maxed out Mystic Codes, because the XP will go to waste then. Another team I have set up is the After X Turns team. Because you know that sometimes when doing main story quests or event quests or whatever, you see that sometimes after 2, 3 or 4 turns, or when your party is wiped out, or when the enemy used their Noble Phantasm, that then the quest ends. Not when you've killed them, because sometimes you can't even kill them. So I made this team to get as much bond points as possible in situations like that. Why? Because a couple of weeks ago, we got this CE where Fate Stay Night characters get 10% extra bond. So everyone in my team is a Fate Stay Night character to maximize the bonds I get. Another team I have is the single target team. This team I mostly use when there is just one enemy on the field, or one enemy on the first wave, one enemy on the second, or one enemy on the third. And of course, your DPS should have class advantage, but if you have a berserker that could work as well, of course. Like I said, you can use a looper if you have that. If you don't have a looper, just use a crit DPS to easily kill the boss ASAP. This team I mostly use for enemies with 100k or more HP with some break bars, and it is most for enemies with no special mechanics. Just kill them in one shot and then you're good to go. And then we of course got the loop team. You can use an arch looper like Ibuki or use a buster looper if you have Oberon and Koya Light, of course. If you don't have a berserker looper, just use a looper who you have class advantage of or you have built, because I could also use Muramasa. He also looks fine. If they are not archer, then it's all fine. And of course you got stupid situations like sometimes there are 3 enemies in the first wave, 1 enemy in the first wave, 3 enemies in the third wave. But those are special occasions if you just got enough charge. So I could change here for wafer, of course, to get some extra charge. But those are special exceptions. It doesn't happen all the time. The main story quest is literally 90% just 3 enemies on the first, second and third wave. But those are special occasions. I'd still use the loop team for them, because if you got enough charge, you could still clear the quest easily. And of course I also have her here because I need to level up her bond to unlock her interlude. I use this team mostly for enemies who have 10k or more HP. Because if they have more than 10k HP, I can't always one-shot them with the command card. It gets a too much RNG if I got lucky or not. So to clear the enemy waves consistently, I just use a loop team. And of course, if you have already unlocked everyone's interludes, you don't need to level up their bonds anymore. Just use whoever you think you need to unlock their append skills with. I could also put Van Gogh, of course, if I want to make her stronger for boss challenges. And then I got this team for bosses who I need to kill as fast as possible, because they have this gimmick, weird mechanic going on with that they give me a debuff every turn where I can't one-shot them, or other special things they got going on. So that's why this team is a really dynamic team. It always changes depending on the boss. I got no support craft assets, as you can see, no bonds or QP CEs, just full on damage. And then I also got my Guda team. And why? Because at this moment, this is the very next special event that is coming up in September. So I've already pre-planned this team, like I said in my other video. And the CEs are empty, of course, because I don't have the event CE yet. And this team I will use to farm the 90++ node with. And this can, of course, change depending on how easy it goes. And this empty slot is, of course, for the Welfare Servant EO, because she gets the most event damage bonus. And I got Medusa here, of course, because she also gets extra bond points due to the event. And every team of mine has, of course, Mesh almost, because she costs 0 and I haven't maxed her yet, so you could use her too, of course, if you haven't maxed her yet. And I've also made my challenge quest team for the Guda event, so I want to try this team. So when the event drops, I can just select this team, try it out. If it doesn't work, change here and there a couple of things. But because I'm already prepared, I don't waste time or like, oh damn, I want to farm this event as fast as possible, but I can't because I haven't set up everything yet. So preparing gives you a little bit of ease in your mind, for me then at least. And of course, all of this doesn't apply for quests where they give you limitations like you cannot have duplicate servants, because some quests have that if you want to loop, or they force you to choose their specific support, or sometimes they even force you to create your team from the ground up for some reason. But luckily, in the most cases, you can just use your pre-built teams. It should be fine. And also let me know if this helps you, what teams you use, if I have missed something, because we are here to learn from each other. I'm just telling you what I know. So if you telling me what you know could help everyone else too, of course, I'd really appreciate that. And thank you for watching this video. Till next time.